awesome artists. Today we're going to be talking about adding color to our top view pumpkin drawing that we did last week. Now we're going to be using warm colors. Colors can either be warm colors or cool colors or neutral colors. Now let's talk about our warm colors first that we're going to be using. When I think of warm colors, I think of fall colors. Yellow, orange, red, even brown can be a warm color, and they're fall colors. Now, anytime that you add warm colors to a picture, it is going to make it have a warm appearance. Now, cool colors make things look a little bit more cool. If I were doing a winter scene or maybe a winter sky, I would use blue or purple. Even, did you know this? Green is a cool color. That's kind of a little bit tricky to remember, but blue and purple and green are your cool colors. Now, neutral colors, what in the world is that? Neutral colors are white and black because they really sort of go with any group. Black makes colors look darker, and adding white makes colors look lighter. So let me show you today how we are going to add the color to our beautiful pumpkins that we drew last week.
Let's talk a little bit about adding color to your top view pumpkin. Last week we talked about depth and about using curved lines. When you use curved lines, it makes your picture look more 3D or three-dimensional. Now you can also add depth with color by using lighter shades and darker shades. Now, if you are wanting to paint this, I'm going to show you how to do that first. Now, these are great paint sets. You can get those anywhere. Sometimes even the dollar store has them, and they are pretty inexpensive. This one's been used a lot, but that's a very good thing to be able to use at home. It comes with a little brush. Now, we use temper cakes at school, so you probably have seen these before. So what I do with my water and my paintbrush, and remember, this is only if you have paints at home. We will definitely paint when you get back to school. I wet my brush really well. I gently rub my paint set. The water wakes up the paint very much like the other paint set also. Both are the same. These are just a little bit bigger. Now I am going to color my whole section. I outline first. I usually dip it back in the water because it does take a lot of water. Don't worry about any spills. Those will be covered up later. So I'm going to quickly fill this in with my yellow paint. Notice how I'm going in one direction. That will look much neater than going in a bunch of different directions. Don't worry about going outside of your lines either. Those are going to be covered up. Painting is not a perfect process. So my next darkest color is going to be orange. So I am going to rub my paint set, and I'm just going to bring my brush down almost like I'm outlining. Now we're going to work in only one section at a time because we want to sort of work while our paint is wet. Because when you work when your paint's wet, it makes the colors blend together. You sort of get some in between colors, like sort of the yellowish orange there. It kind of makes a nice color variation instead of really obvious stripes. Next, I'm going to take my darker color, which is red, and I'm going to pull it down like that and like that. And I'm just gonna wait while it kind of does its thing. I think that looks really cool as it bleeds together. So now I'm gonna move on to paint the rest of my pumpkin. So I'm just gonna speed this up a little bit. I'm only gonna do a few sections just so that you can see how it's done. Notice how the wet colors on the wet paper create sort of a runny look. That's called a wet on wet technique. Now, after your whole pumpkin dries, if you'd like to go back and trace over your vines with green, you can do that. Just make sure it's dry. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of brown on my brush. Remember, wet your brush first. Brown is a very dark color, so you don't need a lot of brown. I start out very lightly because I know that I can always add more. I do go very carefully in those little points, and those little points, and those little points. The more you practice, the easier it is to control. Okay, now if I'd like to add a shadow, and I think I do, I'm just gonna take a little bit more brown. I might wanna mix a little bit of black with it even. Now I didn't mix black to this because it seems to be dark enough. You have to be really careful when you use black. It makes your colors just look really dark. There we go. I think that I am happy with mine. So that is how your painted pumpkin would look. Now you may also do this with crayons. I would do the very same thing. I would color it yellow with my crayon, then add my orange, and then add my red. Now since my red was not very dark, I decided to even use a little bit of black crayon because black crayon is of course lighter than your black paint and more easy to control. So you might want to consider adding some of those shadows on your pumpkin. One more thing I want to mention is oil pastels. We've used oil pastels. You usually have to buy these at Michael's or a craft store, but they make really pretty bright colors too, and you would layer them the exact same way that you painted those. For my stem, I just added a little bit of white on my brown because it was really dark. So I want you to experiment today, figure out how you want to add your color, and just enjoy the process.